House of the Dragon time, the show that may at this point be more grimdark than Warhammer 40k, in that at least there are orcs being funny, so beware spoilers. And when your show's a bit of a downer, even compared to 40k, that may be a problem, and boy is it dark, like someone please get them a light bulb dark. This show has also been a bit surprising. Some of my predictions from earlier in the series didn't come true. It appears nobody was poisoning the king after all. But what is most surprising is that they never had a lesbian relationship. I would have thought that would have been a nailed on certainty. So there are probably some very annoyed lesbians at this point. But it is my experience that lesbians tend to look pissed off at the best of times. On this occasion, they may have cause, because instead the showrunners seem to have forgotten about them, but included strong representation for the foot fetish crowd, and maybe for people with a birthing fetish. Is that even a thing? If it is, I don't want to know. I'm not going to look it up, but the internet exists, so let's face it, it's going to be a thing. In a world where there are people with a Zootopia fetish, it's going to be a thing. And on the subject of things that I wish didn't exist, there was this headline and a story that seems to have genuinely run in Cosmopolitan, titled, "Now that House of the Dragon's over, I'll say it, incest fantasies are hot." And somebody seems to have thought that that was a good idea to run. At this point, you can only find that title on the Wayback Machine now. If you're interested, that headline persevered for 2 hours and 20 minutes before it was swiftly replaced with this one. So, we're all just fine with incest in TV now. The writer, one Veronica Lopez, is the sex and relationships editor at Cosmopolitan, and her byline has also been removed from the story. Where her name was, it now just says by the editors. So I, for one, am quite curious what happened there. I'm imagining a furious backlash. Veronica Lopez at Cosmopolitan also penned a story titled, "Ahem, Dragon Sex is on the rise, and you can thank House of the Dragon." Just for bookkeeping, what precise circle of hell are we on now? Anyway, this is a review, so I may have to cover this in a separate video. On doing some research, I was quite interested to learn that quite a lot of the filming for House of the Dragon happened in the UK. Matt Smith was quoted in Digital Spy as saying that he found Doctor Who harder than House of the Dragon because he was the sole lead in Doctor Who and almost all of the focus was on him, whereas in House of the Dragon it's an ensemble cast. And some of this made me laugh quite a lot. King's Landing, it seems, was allegedly filmed in a place called Placencia in Cáceres, Extremadura in Spain. And it looks quite nice. I'd be tempted to go and give it a try if it wasn't for the dragons. But when you go into the throne room in King's Landing, you're apparently transported to the far off and mystical land of Watford. Matt Smith was quoted as saying, "House of the Dragon is a huge global franchise, or so they tell me. But I just go to work in a studio in Watford and try to get the lines in the right order." As well as that, when Damon and Rhaenyra had their creepy incest uncle scene on the beach at Driftmark, they were actually just in Cornwall at St Michael's Mount. Dragonstone was allegedly filmed in Monsanto in Portugal, and Pentos was allegedly La Calahorra, Granada in Spain. We will find out later in this episode that Daemon's daughters are going to end up married to Rhaenyra's sons. So Luke and Jace are going to marry Daemon's daughters, and what is this family tree now? So they were what? First cousins once removed, was that it? So Daemon's daughters will be, as of this marriage, both sisters and sister-in-laws. They aren't cousins to their proposed husbands because Leonor isn't actually the boy's father. So their mother isn't the sister of their husband's father. But they are first cousins once removed because the girl's father is still the boy's mother's uncle. And what have you done, George? It's not a good sign if I need a spreadsheet to work out the familial relations in your show. So the brothers are also brother-in-laws because they're marrying cousins. The brothers are now also cousin-in-laws. So I hope that's clear to you now, because I don't think it is to me. This would not be normal even in Norfolk. We jump back in and we have more politics. Corlys's brother, Vaemond, is conspiring with the Hightowers to take Driftmark for himself. Rhaenyra goes to see Rhaenys to get her support to keep her son as the heir to Driftmark instead of Vaemond, and she offers the marriages of her sons to Rhaenys' granddaughters in exchange for her support. Rhaenys refuses because she still thinks that Rhaenyra and Daemon killed her son, and they could just tell her that her son's alive. Would it really hurt that much? You're just going to leave her thinking that her only son is dead. The best reason I can think of was that if she knew, it would maybe invalidate Rhaenyra's marriage to Daemon. But in the story, Aegon the Conqueror had 2 wives. Is it a problem if Rhaenyra has 2 husbands? I have no idea. Either way, they just leave Laenor's parents thinking he's dead to just add more suffering to the misery pile that at this point is getting stacked up like Scrooge McDuck's money pit. So Daemon and Rhaenyra ask the king for help, and the king is in a sorry state. He's bedridden and covered in bandages. They ask him for help, but he's on strong pain relief and he's barely conscious. Otto Hightower is sitting on the throne in the king's stead, and he's going to give Driftmark to Vaemond in order to aid the Hightowers. As Rhaenyra goes up to make her case in front of Otto, in a surprise, the king enters the hall. He can barely walk, and Otto sheepishly leaves the king's throne as the king hobbles towards the throne, propped upon a walking stick. It's a powerful scene, but it's just so effing sad. For any of you that are blessed enough to have never seen this in elderly relatives, you're fortunate. It's heartbreaking to see people you love fade away. It's a dramatic scene, but it certainly doesn't make me happy. And as the king stumbles forward to try and get to the throne, he almost falls forward onto the field of swords surrounding the throne. Sensibly, all pointed upwards, and no, that never gets any less stupid. So as the king is hunched over, trying desperately to reach for the throne, his crown falls from his bowed head, and Daemon picks it up for him. And why does Daemon never age? The poor king is there, looking like a deadite, and Daemon still looks the same as in episode 1, apart from him not wearing the stupid effing dragon hat. All this is powerful stuff, and there's some nice symbolism, but it's just so sad. The king takes the throne and is angry that Driftmark is even an issue again. It was supposed to be settled. It would go to Lucerys, but scheming is happened behind his back. He asks for Rhaenys to speak, and she says the husband's position was for Luke to inherit Driftmark. She has decided, after all, to back Rhaenyra in exchange for the marriages. Vaemond, though, is angry, and he will not accept it. He accused the king of breaking tradition by naming a female heir. He says he will not see his house ended and passed to someone he's not even related to. He says that Rhaenyra's children are bastards and she's a whore. And why are people gasping? Everybody knows that's what the children are. They're clearly not Laenor's children. They're the wrong ethnicity to be Laenor's children. The king gets up, draws a knife and says, "I'll have your tongue for that." And that's when Daemon hits Vaemond in the head from behind with a sword like a coward. And why do they even let people into the throne room with swords? It's like asking for someone to kill the king. The king has organised a family meal and everyone hates each other. The king is carried in on a chair, and the king is hoping that the family meal will quash the infighting in his family, and realistically there's probably more chance of Laenor getting Rhaenyra pregnant than that happening. Before dinner, Alicent gives a prayer to the Seven and prays for the gods to give rest to Vaemond Valerion, and Matt Smith smirks. Why are people acting like this guy's a hero again? He's a backstabbing murderous psycho who married his own niece and murdered his innocent wife. So the king is trying to calm things down between the two factions, and Alicent's son Aegon immediately starts being a tool, saying of the marriages, "Well done, Jace, you'll finally get to lie with a woman." Just why is he like this? Aside from being an insufferable douche, he's dumb as hell. Jace is ahead of him in the line of succession. The king is looking peaky at best, and when he pops it, Jace's mum is going to be ruling the Seven Kingdoms. One accident and Jace could be ruling. Is that just Aegon's character? Is it like Daemon being pathologically reckless? Is Aegon just a complete moron? The king tries again to mend the rift between the factions, taking his mask off so they can all see him as he is, and it's grim. He can barely stand and has lost an eye, and the CGI guys have done a pretty good job, but it's grim as hell again. He says, I want you to see me as I am, not just your king, but your father, your husband, your brother, your grandsire, who may not, it seems, walk for much longer among you. Set aside your grievances, if not for the crown, then for this old man who loves you all dearly. And bravo, Paddy Considine, good work, lad. After her father's plea, the Princess Rhaenyra tries to make amends. She toasts the Queen for standing honourably by her father. The Queen toasts her in return. They're trying, but sadly, the Queen's sons are twats. Aegon waits about half a second before proposing sex with... Oh God, what relation is Aegon to Daemon's daughters? No, I'm not doing it now. It's giving me a headache. And it seems the king's plea may have worked. Luke makes a toast, and he tries toasting the health of his uncles. The music starts, and the people there seem to have fun. The king is carried out as he starts to feel bad. Rhaenyra's son Jace is smirking and giggling at Aemond, the man whose eye he destroyed with a knife. So now her sons are being dicks as well. And then Aemond stands up to make a toast to the health of his nephews, each one of them handsome, wise and strong. And he's clearly alluding to their alleged real father, Harwin Strong, so a massive brawl breaks out. The young men's fight is broken up by their parents, and there is some great acting from Matt Smith as he sends Rhaenyra's kids away and turns to size Aemond up. Sighing. And these two seem to speak the same language. The look on Matt Smith's face is a magical piece of acting. He sighs deeply, and there are notes of disappointment, then anger, amusement, and in a way he also looks happy. He almost looks proud of Aemond. It's as if he sees a kindred spirit in him and a worthy opponent all wrapped in one. And all this in a few seconds of acting with no dialogue at all. And this may be the best acting that I've ever seen from him. Bravo, Matt Smith. Good work, lad. It's nice to see the English lads bossing it. Alicent and Rhaenyra are trying to honour the king's wishes, but it's too late. The way they've raised their sons has set their families on a collision course. The king is in bed ill, and he's visited by Alicent. The king is confused and dying, talking about Aegon the Conqueror's vision, and Alicent misunderstands what he's talking about. She thinks he wants their son Aegon to take the throne, and that one misunderstanding will lead to tragedy.
Could you make me a cup of tea, please, Stephanie?